So your question is like, why? Like why or how?
Yeah. Well, like if I was gonna play devil's advocate, well, like prove it to me. It's like I always look at this stuff. I mean, this is amazing. Yes, like I have no reason to question it, but like I at the same time, like I think we should question.
Hmm,
Just question.
absolutely. Question everything. That's where
Exactly.
critical thinking comes in. That's like what makes us as a country almost the more powerful country on the planet is because our ability to have democracy and to be able to argue and have conversations and stuff.
Mm,
Uh, so like I don't necessarily have the answer, but I've read a lot about these keys and I've done a lot of contemplation, meditation, and concentration around all of this stuff. Um, what I can say is it does come back to very fundamental things in like why and how it was created, and it's through mathematics in the universe.
mm,
Astrology is a very, very old system, and it's based on math. Like the guys who figured out that we aren't the center of the universe and that the sun doesn't revolve around us. We revolve around the sun. Those guys were using math to figure out astrology. And then within astrology, they found out certain things about like us as individuals and how we relate to the cosmos and how we can actually kind of tune into that math, that those basic fundamentals of nature. And so this is like just an evolved version of that. Like understanding more about the world, understanding more about the cosmos has allowed us to understand more about ourselves, right? Like we aren't the center of the universe, you know, like when it comes to the how we rotate. So like that changed everything when it came to math, when it came to just like philosophy back then. So now we're looking at it from a very, very cool lens that's just
mm,
taking into consideration different cultures and how they've evolved through these systems of math. Like it's the I Ching is Chinese, and like it talks about different cultures and different um, archetypes. It's like all the archetypes are based on Carl Jung, so it's all like it's
mm.
philosophy combined with math. It's philosophy combined with just like there's so much to this, and it's very like it is complicated and expansive, but it's also very simple at the same time. Um, I think like to answer your question, why it comes down to, and they mentioned this at the end of the reading of the chapter of how this is like this golden path or this mode of contemplation to go through these keys they mentioned is like kind of a prerequisite or like a foundation that you can have for yourself to enter enlightenment or a higher
Mm.
spiritual path. So it's like it's almost like prepping you for that, which in in life, it's not like that's the goal is to have enlightenment, but to increase our vibration and frequency, it kind of makes sense to if you're curious about that stuff to follow these things. And that's like,
Absolutely.
the curiosity. Why isn't hold on. Yeah, one sec. People are trying to get in and it's not like letting people. Is there a passcode or something? You
See
got it.
some people.
Fine. Are they coming in? Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Oh, there they are. Okay.
Michelle, Peter.
I had it mixed up a little bit. There we go. Sweet. Yeah, welcome guys. Hold on one sec. We were just chatting about the keys.
I like what you said there. Like it's and it makes me think about what like Robert Edward Grant always says and like other I know just like philomaths who to have like a holistic view of like numbers, geometry, and how it relates to everything else. But it's basically like any pattern that we can't really recognize isn't because it's not there. It's just because like our level of consciousness isn't at the level of like recognizing that pattern.
Hmm.
So like when I'm sitting here, like, and I guess like where I'm coming from is a little bit of skepticism, but like overall, I'm bought in. Like I'm enrolled in the gene keys and like want to learn and like raise my frequency. But obviously, as still a functioning member of society, there's like part of me that's like fire eyes and water eyes. What the hell? So I just had to bring it up there. It's like, okay, like out of all of the ways to learn, like, why am I here like doing reading these gene keys?
Hmm.
You know.
Yeah,
But
well,
I do tend to agree that like it's it seems to be just like a systematic way of thinking about yourself and like thus having the awareness to bring out the like higher frequencies. So
hmm, yeah, they really he wraps it up quite well towards the end of it as well, like talking about the different sequences and how it can really translate to your life, and like the embodiment of these keys can allow you to tap into like harmony between all the different aspects of your life. That was like one of the big things that I took from it. That word, harmonization between, communities, relationships, your work, your life purpose, your goals, all of it. It's very cool. Um, okay, let's kind of get started. Um, Peter, are you there? Michelle, I see you.
hmm.
Do you guys want to do some breath work to start?
Sure, that would be great.
Okay.
If everybody else wants, yeah, sure.
Peter says yes, yes. So I think we'll just get into a few minutes of air hunger, and then maybe a couple holds and a couple hums, and we'll go from there. If you guys want to take your bolt score, you can, um, and I can walk you guys through that as well. Hold on, actually, 1 second. I forgot my timer. Okay, so I'm pretty sure we're all familiar with the bolt score. We're all been practicing oxygen advantage for a while now, so I will just kind of get started. Everybody settle in, find a comfortable space, and give Michelle a second to let her heart rate settle. um, for anyone watching that is not familiar with the Bolt score, you're more than welcome to take it now. It is basically, it's called the body oxygen level test, and it's a test of our tolerance to carbon dioxide. So we're taking a passive inhale in and an exhale to relaxation. We pinch and hold our nose. I'll start the timer. Whenever you feel the first sign to breathe is when you breathe in again. You unpinch your nose, and I'll stop the timer, or I'll read out the seconds of the timer, and that will hopefully try and increase that after the breath work. So I'm going to count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You exhale, pinch, and hold your nose. I'll start counting every 2 seconds, and then you can find out what your bolt score is. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale, pinch, and hold. 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30, 32, 34, 36. I'm just going to go till about 40, maybe 50, 40, 42, 44, 46, 48, 50. Good. Okay, first exercise, just gonna be air hunger. I'll walk you guys through it. We'll do about 4 to 6 minutes, 4 to 7 minutes of it, and then we'll get into some holds and some hums, increase some vagal tone, because we're gonna be talking. So again, find yourself in a comfortable seated position where your knees are below your hips, if possible. And start to find your hips. Start to sink into your hips. Now, during this time, you can close your eyes if you'd like to. You can use your finger below your nostrils to gauge your breath. So I'm going to walk through air hunger and the first 3 dimensions of breath. So I'd like you guys to start to pay attention to the air coming in and out of your nose. And as you pay attention to this air coming in and out, if your mind starts to wander, just bring it back to the inhale and the exhale. Now, as you have your focus on your breath, start to pay attention to the lightness of your breath. Start to pay attention to how soft and how quiet you can make your breath. So soft, your nostril hairs are barely even moving. You can barely feel the air in your nose. You want to be breathing back in deeper into your face so that you're not feeling the inside of your nostrils. Your breath is to be quiet, so quiet you can't hear it, even inside your own head. Now, start to breathe back deep into your throat, into the back of your face, in your eye sockets. And as you breathe deep into your face, horizontally back, you feel expansion with that breath in the lowest part of your body. Feeling expansion and contraction, a slight expansion and a slight contraction. Letting the breath fill that part of your body and then letting the exhale fall. Now, we're going to get into creating a tolerable sensation to want to breathe more. So we're going to bring our breath down in terms of volume, rate, and location. So your breath is going to be barely expanding below your navel. So you're not filling up past that space. You're just keeping your breath flowing in and out below your belly button. Now I'd like you to take a little bit off of the top of the inhale. So you're inhaling less air and then exhaling long and pausing at the end of your exhale. And as you pause, when your body tells you to breathe in again, you maintain control and speed of your inhale by taking your time and only filling it up below the belly button. So for the next 2 to 3 minutes, we are going to find out how close we can get to feeling the feelings of suffocation but not quite there. So taking small, tiny sips of air after we pause at the end of our exhale. If you feel any warmth or any tingling, maintain the breath that you are currently having. Maintain rate, rhythm, volume, depth. Do not change your breath. If you feel like you want to gasp, if you feel like you want to take a bigger breath, you are performing this exercise correctly. For the next minute and a half, we're breathing as light, as slow, as deep, and as small as we can. Finding buoyancy in our spine, nice and tall through every vertebrae, sinking into our hips, letting our body feel relaxation. We have about a minute left, and we're going to see how close we can get to that feeling, but not letting ourselves, knowing that we will rebalance our blood pH and our breath following this exercise. Let's see how close we can get. 30 more seconds. About 10 more seconds. Try and find that pause. Good. You can take your time and slowly bring back in a little bit more air with every breath. You can increase your inhales, but keep them low. Start low and build your breath back to the normal breathing rhythm that you have. Whenever you're ready, you can open your eyes. We're going to do about a minute of cadence, a couple breath holds, and then we'll do some hums, and then we'll start. Good. Okay. Minute of cadence. You can put your hands on your side ribs or your back ribs, whichever comfortable. You want to be able to feel expansion in your ribs. So I'll count, breathe in, 2, 3, 4, and then exhale for 6. So breathe in, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Last one, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Good. We're just going to do just 2 holds, and then we'll do some hums. This is just kind of a light workout this morning. I'm not going to go too crazy. We're just going to go right into max holds. So feel free to kind of hold as long as you'd like. After you get done with your hold, Make sure you are minimizing your breath within 6 breaths, and you want to minimize it down into air hunger. So go right back into that sensation of feeling the want to breathe. We're capturing that CO2. We're going to do that for about a minute, and then we'll cadence breathe for a minute and repeat. Does that sound good? Sweet. Okay. I will count down, and you can do your holds. I'll let you know kind of towards the, let's say, 30-second mark, 20 to 30-second mark, like what your timing is. And if you want to beat it the next time, you'll know. So breathing in, and then 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale, pinch and hold. Twenty, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30, 32, 34, 36, 38, 40, 42, 44, 46, 48, 50, 52, 54, 56, 58, minute, 62, 64, 66, 68, 70, 72, 74, 76, 78, 80, 82, 84, 86, 88, 90, 92, 94, 96, 98, 81. Good. Now we're into air hunger for about 1 minute. This is reducing your breathing volume and your rate down again. Feeling those sensations, creating air hunger. If you'd like, you can impose a load like Michelle's doing by placing one finger over your nostril for extra air hunger. About 15 more seconds. Good. Hands on your ribs, hands on your kidneys. Breathing in, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 3 more breaths. Breathe in, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Good. We'll do one more breath hold. Take a couple clearing breaths. I'll count down from 5. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale, pinch and hold. $50, $55, $60, $70, $80, $90, $94, $96, $98, $100, $102, $104, $106, $108. For those that are still going, we're just hitting 2 minutes. Just be in air hunger for the next 45 seconds or so. Good. We're going to do cadence breathing for about a minute, and then we're going to go into some exhale hums immediately after. So the seconds following the first minute, we're going to inhale for 4, exhale hum as loud as we can for as long as we can. I'm going to set the timer for about 30 seconds or so, and we'll breathe in again and exhale hum for as loud and as long as we can. So we're going to do 4 of those total. So it's going to be about 2 minutes of inhale, exhale, hum as loud and as long as we can. You can create sort of a lower, more resonant sound in your chest if you'd like, sort of almost like an ohm, but you want to sort of fill that space in your cranium and your nasal cavity as well as your chest. If you can feel your stomach, you're doing it right. So that's parasympathetic activation. That's your vagal nerve going all the way from your stomach to your brain. You want to try and activate vibration along that nerve. So hands on your kidneys or your ribs. Breathing in, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2. So this one coming up, we're inhaling for 4 and exhaling hum. In, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, hum. If you end before the 30 seconds, that's fine. Just breathe normally. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Breathe in. 2, 3, 4. Exhale, hum. Good. We'll do just one more of these. Breathing in, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, hum. Good. Now we're going to just cadence breathe to recover. That's going to be about 3 minutes. Can you guys see this timer? No? Okay, never mind. Wanted to see if that would work. Okay. Just 3 minutes of cadence, breathing in to recover. Make sure you are breathing into your hands, expanding your ribs laterally or posteriorly. Posterior ribs and lateral ribs. Expansion on that back part of our body, filling up from the base, filling up from the pelvic floor. So breathing in, 2, 3, 4, out. Breathe in, out. Breathe in, out. Breathe in, out. Breathe in, 3, 4, out. Breathe in, 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 out. And 6 more breaths. Breathe in, out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4, out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4, out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4, out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Breathe in, out. And last breath after this. Breathing In, 2, 3, 4, out. Good. We're going to check bolt score, and then we're done. And then we can start. All right. I'm going to count down from 5. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale, pinch and hold. And it's the first sign to breathe. Twenty, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30, 32, 34, 36, 38, 40, 42, 44, 46, 48, 50, 52, 54, 56, 58. Minute. Cool. All right. Good stuff. Hopefully you guys felt some regulation and got something from that.
Much better for sure.
Yeah. Cool.
I'll definitely kind of like taking my dog out to go outside and do his stuff. So I felt by 30, I felt it earlier, but I probably held it a little too long. But now, like about 46, I'm like, oh,
Nice.
definitely felt the difference.
Good. Good. Good.
Yeah.
All right. So today we're just going to kind of go through any questions about the gene keys as well as kind of those journal prompts. I'd like to actually open it up first to questions, and then we can kind of go through each question on the journal response and kind of get everybody's reflection or feedback. So if anybody has any questions right away, we can go through that. If not, I'll start it off. Yeah. Anybody? I know we kind of talked a little bit earlier, Jordan. And you guys can feel free to like unmute and just like speak freely. You don't have to like raise your hand or anything. Okay. So
Well,
yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say I was only able to read until like page 29 because I had a completely busy week,
No
and
worries.
I
I
had
think you got the most of
kind
it.
of yeah, kind of like reread because it's just I'm like, wait, it's just so hard to really sink in.
Hmm.
Not hard, I have to kind of like read and repeat. I'm like, wait, is this what I'm thinking it is, or is there's a different meaning? So, but yeah, it's pretty cool. I'm
Yeah,
into.
it's definitely it can be dense. Uh, and it does sometimes take a couple rereads to like fully be able to realize what you actually just read. It's not something you can like fast read. You have
Yeah.
to like take your time as you're reading it. At least for me, I can resonate with that.
I don't think it's as dense as it is deep. It's
Hmm.
just very deep, so it's like it does take your attention.
Definitely. Yeah. I can totally relate being a little bit of the fire eye. I mean, mostly the fire eye and then less of the water. I mean, but kind of like really going with the flow a lot. I was always like this, like in my life, just kind of like, hey, whatever it is, just it is, let's just go with it. Never was too resistance to different views, or I was always like eager to explore and like what's out there. Like if someone is talking about, it's like, I'll bring a crazy topic, right? Let's just say you're in therapy. I'm like, why would someone write about that if there's not some truth to it, or like the gene keys, or like everything that someone in the past experienced, there's got to be something about it. I'm not just like, oh no, that sounds too crazy. I'm not gonna, entertain that idea. I'm all into all the conspiracies or the truth of like this is real. So I can really relate to being a lot of the stuff that talks about here and discovering our inner power. I think it's all dormant from we're born into this pretty crazy era of 1980s and 90s and 2000s. I mean, I'm from the 80s. I think Peter's might be a little bit older, but from the 70s on, there's just so much that we don't know and so much power that's hidden. So I'm like, to me, I'm like, yep, I want to unlock and untap all this stuff that's dormant. So I'm all in. I'll do what it takes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I like that. I like that you resonate with the fire because I'm the other way around. I resonate a little bit more with the water. I think that's like for me, that's why I love the breath work so much that we do because it's a lot of the subtle body and subtle realm and tapping into like kind of that world. Uh, it's creating space and energy through the breath. The water eye, like when I was reading it, I was thinking about the difference between power and force because they were talking about how when the only way to open the water eye is to actually yield to it, and you can't yield to it if you're trying to force it open. So the way I think about it and the way my mind kind of brought it all together was through breath and through not just breath, but like cultivation of life force and chi and like prana, life energy, what we in Oxygen Advantage refer to as carbon dioxide. So it's like cultivating that is what kind of opens the eye or opens the door, um, because it's like through that stillness comes the mysteries about the self. The self sort of unlocks itself, like you find out more through contemplation and through meditation, while you're doing breath work, that these things kind of come up. At least for me it has. I do, however, really love the fire eye as well. I think there's like a lot of respect I have for the fire eye. It's like the driving force behind everything on our planet, all creativity. It's the divine feminine. Um, it's the drive and the imagination that carves like literally time, space, all of it. It's seems, in my opinion, when thinking about the fire eye, like it's born out of necessity. It's born out of our need to survive, like from a primal stance and from our source, like when we were hunter gatherer, what we needed to do, we did. It was born out of necessity, but it turned into creativity and it turned into expansion. It's I like to think of the water and the fire eye as like formless, the water being formless, and the fire becoming form. The form is the creativity, is the exploration of life itself, and the water being just the formless space. Um, yeah. What are you guys' thoughts?
Mhm.
Hmm.
I definitely resonate more with Fire Eye. Like I've experienced moments what essentially the water eye is, and especially like taking on the breathing journey. But um, I'm still definitely digesting those two. Like that question was hard for me to like, even though I was contemplating at first, it was one that I didn't like immediately get into like a rich like clarity about. I was kind of like Fire Eye just kind of seems like everyone's life, um, because you can't really. identify when someone's like in the water eye unless you're like really attuned to it. But um, even when I do find moments where I'm not like really trying to like produce something, then the fire eye comes back in, and the book says like feeling like you're not doing enough, and like you have an impact to go and like make on people and this and that. Like a lot of the times contemplating and like really sitting with the energy of the water eye is it's almost just like it's just an area of energy where as soon as the fire eye comes back in, just like immediately you just know when it's taking over again. So I
Mm.
like I like going into the contemplating and just like kind of leaving things as they are for a minute, letting things kind of unfold.
Yeah,
Mm.
I like that. It's like the water eye like is almost like the pause at the end of the breath. It's that like we're waiting for the inhale. The inhale is the fire, and the water is the exhale. Um,
I like how Richard Rudd talks about it like as the alchemy, like the water over fire, because I feel like personally I have it like, and a lot of our society has it backwards, the fire's over the water. And I've been kind of sitting with that just in like my own life right now of like feeling that pressure to be something, to do something, to like, what am I going to do for work? What am I doing with my life? Like, and that's been so prevalent that it's almost like I've been, I haven't had that clarity that comes with the water eye, where it's actually like, let me put, let me put some of the fire, let me put the fire below the water and see what happens. And just being kind of like in the last few days, even just taking more time to myself and doing a lot of meditating, it's like all of a sudden I'm having more clarity come through. And it's like I didn't have any of this clarity when I was like, what the fuck am I doing with my life? But now that I'm like kind of coming into this more watery flow, I'm starting to see like, okay, like this is this is where my energy is wanting to move and flow. So, yeah, that's kind of my experience with the eyes right now.
hmm.
Very nice. Yeah, Peter? I don't know who is speaking, sorry. I was gonna mention something too, that I think from the moment I was born, I was probably more a little, more into the water eyes because I was super free, and living by the beach. And by the time I was 20, moved to US, I literally became the fire eyes, like stimulated and like trying to learn everything and do everything. But like Coleman said, since I became my breathing journey 2.5 years ago, I completely put the water over the fire for sure. I never never thought I could spend so much time alone and in silence and love that so much. Like I don't even want to, if I go out or somewhere, or if I go get food or hang out with my girlfriend, I mean, 1 hour tops until my body starts to go like, you need to get out of here. An hour and a half, I'm like, nope, gotta go. It's like, so yeah, putting the water over the fire and just like kind of just cooling everything down and not expecting anything, just doing your best without expectations. And that's when everything started to sink. Like honestly, through my detoxification and my breath, it was like I was having aha moments. I was having aha moments, maybe like 3 times a year or something. And then it became so frequent, like almost every weekend and every other day. I was like, whoa, like what's happening? And I was just like, the moment I slow down and just stuck with my breath and did nothing, expect nothing, just like I pull myself out of the world and in my own bubble. I'm like, I'll be happy just here with my garden and my dog and my breath. That's basically, I'm like, I don't need anything else. So that's a pretty huge change for me, being extremely, being a trainer, always screaming, hyper playing sports, and to being like completely transformed, like
Hmm.
very calm and quiet. People are like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah," like because I'm super loud, right? So yeah, I can see how the water just took over and over the fire, and like, okay, it's time for you to just cool down. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to add, because I was thinking about this actually just now, how there is likely a shadow and a gift and a city of each of these eyes. How there can be, like with the fire eye, it can be stress, it can be feelings of like a lot of the shadows, desperation, hunger, um, just like kind of this craving, this need to fill something out of necessity, out of fear. Uh, and same with the water can also be a shadow in the way that it can be too passive, too
Mm.
like not creating, too like repressed almost, or hidden, or not, just kind of boring almost, uh, in the sense that it's not creating, it's not doing anything. But then there's also the gifts in the cities, and then how like how we can attain certain things and attain certain frequencies through these shadows, or through these eyes. Um, like the fire eye is so, for me, it just taps into like the way I view it. I like look at it through the society lens, and I just see how amazing human beings are, and how they've like we've created so much on this planet. Uh, we've evolved so much. We've done so much cool stuff to write history, to tap into who we are as a species. And I just think it's like a marvel to kind of look back at. Uh, and in the same way with actually the water too. It's also a marvel to look at. It's, you know, I think of the like the great sages and the ones who are practicing meditation and contemplation and at the highest levels, and that are attaining spiritual enlightenment, and what they're doing to get there and how they're doing it through philosophy, through contemplation, through the mind, and through the heart. Yeah. So next, we can kind of go through three paths of meditation, contemplation, and concentration. Um, my relationship uh, between these is that they are all interconnected. As I was reading them, I could see how they can be sort of put in their own boxes. Uh, when I meditate, I concentrate. That's how I meditate. So, and then through that, like as I'm breathing and as I'm thinking about my breath, and as I'm laser focused on my breath, it becomes like part of my it's like I'm automatically doing it at a certain point, where my brain is recognized to breathe like this, to be laser focused on my breath, and then my mind also starts to open up within that same space. It's like allowed to do the same because I'm concentrating and meditating. And that contemplation, that middle way, that Zen point, or that the Taoist perspective is like kind of, it's not nothing or something, but it's in the middle. Um, and that's like a lot of how at least I look at it. But I'm curious to hear your guys' thoughts too.
I'm exactly on that. Like the way I wrote it out was I found that in like challenging situations that are just too hard, I can't like it's tough to relax into them. Like I just have to concentrate do like something if I'm really pushing it. And then on the flip side, like I find myself more in like a meditative state when see everything's peachy, like the sun is up, you know, weather's great. Like I couldn't meditate in the winter outside, but all day I'm outside and I can meditate for hours, right? Like it's super easy, but when it gets to the point of like challenge, that's when you have to, or in my experience, like I have to flip to concentration to like hold that hold myself just in that. But then there is that middle point of like the balance between difficulty and like like just like easiness where you find contemplation. I think like that's what I would imagine is like a flow state for somebody who's like, just on the edge of like what they're kind of capable of, but still able to relax into it. It's not like above the boundary, and then they can still like really relax into it, but at the same time there's like a huge amount of concentration going into it. So
Hmm.
that's when I think that is like the flow, like a flow state. But for me, like if I'm just like trying to grind something out and work really hard at something, I find it hard to like relax into it.
Hmm. Yeah. 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 Katie, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, so um yeah, I kind of have played with all three. So I would say that like when it actually comes to working with the gene keys, what I found is that in the beginning, when I first found this system, I became like highly concentrated on it to the point where I was like obsessive, like always thinking about my gene keys and like just really using like the left brain um to like understand and like really being like super logical about it. Um and now I find that like as I've sort of moved into like the middle path of contemplation where it's like I'm not thinking about it at all, but I'm not like so focused on my gene keys. It's like I'm just sort of moving through my life and then something will happen and then it's like, oh, like that was the 31st gene key. Like that's the shadow or like that's the gift. And so it's just interesting to kind of like find that middle path with this system. Because I do feel that it is super easy to sort of just kind of move into the concentration side of it when working with any system because it's just like, oh, I want to know all of it. Like I want to know, I want to understand like what are my gifts? Like I want to know. um but yeah, so yeah. I think that's what I want to say about it. I'm like a little bit out of it, you guys. I did some like major Kundalini yoga this morning and I'm still just like floating. So,
No worries.
I just said there that like I think I tend to do that when something new will come in, I'll just like dive right into the rabbit. And then like a year later, that's when the thing actually comes. Like I start to have deeper realizations about it. Not when I was initially overly focused on reading it. I probably everyone has just so much information stored in their brain, but it can actually like come into play half the time because we're so focused on one thing or another. You have to like not focus for all this stuff that's stored in your brain to like actually come to the surface.
Yeah.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah, that's why I think in one of the keys, or at least in some of his writing, or maybe one of his audios, he talks about how this is like really a journey, and it takes a long time to work through these keys. It takes like maybe a lifetime for some, maybe less for others. But it's very cool. Is contemplating that middle path is really, like you said, it just happens when it happens. It happens like almost when you yield, but not yield too much. It's like the combination of the fire eye and the water eye allow for the full embodiment of the keys. And this is what they talk about, like the contemplation, meditation, and concentration are the pathways to embodiment. Because once you recognize all of these things and how you do them, then you can actually kind of recode or repattern your genes in a way to live in the frequency that you want to live. It makes sense to me to go through it like this, to use these tools, to use these ways and paths of embodiment to upgrade and to awaken yourself in a lot of ways, and to give yourself the tools and the language to be able to approach any situation, anything life kind of throws at you, and react in it with harmony, with life force and energy and love. Yeah. Yeah.
Agreed. It is such a gentle path. It really is, like, and it's so interesting when you do find that middle point, like this middle point between nothing and like no focus and like all focus. It is an art. That's why Richard Rudd calls it the art of contemplation. It is the true balance of the masculine and feminine within, but I believe it really does start with that yielding, because we are all so typically fire focused. Like, what are we producing, what are we creating? And then we kind of have to get to this point of like moving into that water eye of yielding. And that's sort of when I feel like, at least in my experience, that's when that middle way started to reveal itself.
Yeah. Peter, are you there? Kind of want to hear from Peter. If not, no worries.
I'm here.
Hey, Peter.
Hi, Peter.
Hey, Katie. What's up, Jordan? Hey, Michelle.
Hey, Peter.
Yeah, I did something kind of interesting. I only looked at the, I don't know, I'm gonna call it the test right now, the first part that we filled out, or but I haven't looked at it since I did it. I just started reading the book because I wanted to be kind of curious and just take in the information but and what I realized along this path in that contemplation, the curiosity is this is filling in so many spots with like what Katie said with like the words. I just like enamored with the feeling. I'll read a paragraph or a sentence and I'll just put the book down and just go, wow, I've been doing this, but I didn't have any words for it. I just thought that I was just figuring stuff out still. It's like, holy crap, this is awesome. So that's where I'm at.
Right on, Peter.
Beautiful.
Yeah, there's no wrong way to do this, and it sounds like you're doing it pretty good. I saw you posted one of the quotes towards the end of the chapters, and that one, like as soon as I started reading it, I was like, oh yeah, Peter mentioned that.
Yeah. It's yeah, the words are just, and he mentions that about how you connect with those on the golden path, and again, what Katie said about what resonates with you, and yeah, it's been very powerful, very powerful, and it's coming in together just at the right time of, stressful times too. So it's like, yeah, man, I am. I'm just keep going. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
Love that.
yeah. I was really hungry last night and I was like, damn, I gotta go to bed. I really kind of planned yesterday for this. And, I ate some watermelon before bed, so that's I, I've been
Yeah, I did
pretty
that
hydrated
once.
lately, so with all these blackberries. Yeah, I mean it's not a bad thing. It's just like I usually don't wake up to go pee, and I had to pee like 3 times. Like, damn, I'm gonna be so wrecked.
That's the worst.
I woke up in the middle of the
Yeah, it's like, oh, I don't want to.
I woke up in the middle of the night and the Berkey was like completely empty. Soak any tap water, so I just like guzzled like a quarter of a watermelon, and I was like, "Ah, that's fine."
Yeah.
It was like 2 a.m. though.
Mm.
So you know the deal. Yeah, you can't
Yeah, I
hold
know
off
how
a
it is.
pee. There's no way to hold it off. You have to do it. You have to get up. Damn it.
So you're saying that you're pretty tired today, or is that what's going on?
Yeah, no, I'm just here in bed, just sitting here in the dark. Yeah, yeah, it's a little tired. Yeah, Jordan.
Glad you could be here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thanks.
thank you for showing up, even though it's
Yeah,
early.
yeah, yeah.
Guys, speaking of watermelon, look at this.
Oh, you got to go on
Check
Michelle.
You
it
you
out.
grown a watermelon?
I am. I
Oh
just
my
dropped some
God.
seeds just for fun. And check it
Wow.
out. I have like
Oh,
4 of them.
Oh my God.
I'm
That's
so
so
excited.
dope.
Like I even
Whoa.
I pretty much improvised with some pallets because they started growing all over the place. And then just a tiny one here, but I was like, look at this baby.
Oh
Oh,
my God.
I
nice.
got one of those.
So
I got like a mini guy.
this
Oh,
is
that's
so cool because
amazing.
I never thought they were gonna grow. And I went to a city here in Texas. They're really famous with watermelon. It's called Luling. And then I got a couple of huge watermelons there, and I was eating them, and my garden was pretty much empty. And I was like, you know what? Let me just drop some seeds here. And in my heart, I was like manifesting that they would grow secretly. You know, secretly, I'm like, yeah, let me just drop like nonchalant, and then I probably dropped too many of them. I planted 7 seeds in one and 5 in the other one. And then they started to grow. And I'm like, okay, they're growing, but are they really going to grow? Because, some people say, oh, you need the bees and the flowers. And I'm like, I'm just going to let nature do its own magic. And I was just watering and I hum, I bathe them. Like literally, I'm just not throwing water at them. I'm just there and
mm.
they're growing. I mean, they're like some of them are like this big,
Did you say
and
you
I'm like
hum?
so excited. Like,
Did you say you hum at them?
yeah, I'm like watering, humming. I swear to God, I'm like going to the leaves and I just bathe them like with my hand.
Oh my God.
It's fun. Definitely spend a lot of time there. Just now, when I read about the meditation part, actually here, I totally relate to it because when it talks about um, watching, right, and listening and just allowing, and what does it say? What is it? I think there's like 5 things that he talks about for meditation. Uh, it's the deep seeing, right? Like watching, listening,
Sitting
allow,
by the river.
then yeah, just kind of letting go and I can see myself doing that a lot, just like sitting down and just observing just everything, and listening and feeling. And also when you guys were talking about the middle path, right? Meditation, contemplation, and the concentration, I feel like, you know, I've been meditating now since July 1st. And that's such huge, and never ever sat down and just stay still, even though I've been doing my breathing, but it's completely different when you're working on your technique and or just sitting and being, right? So in the beginning of my meditation, when I just say a little prayer, I'm just kind of in my thoughts, and then I have to concentrate to see, okay, observe my breathing. Am I relaxing? Am I allowing all the sensation? That's still part of my concentration. And I think it takes like about, I don't know, maybe 15 minutes or 20 to for me to just kind of get out of the concentration and more just be like relaxed and not think about how I'm feeling. And
Hmm.
sometimes and just like it's funny because I'm new to meditation, but sometimes I'm really, when I'm sitting, I feel like my body is moving like this, but
Hmm.
I'm sitting really still. And I was like, whoa, feels like I'm doing that, right? But I'm like, okay, like Brian talks about that, just the water and flowing. And sometimes I also feel like I'm looking down, but I'm not looking down. I'm just like changing,
Hmm.
you know, it's kind of different. Um,
Mm.
and sometimes I actually dream through my meditation, like I'm really sleeping. Not all the time though, but I kind of, depending how my mind is, sometimes my mind's a little bit more agitated. So I have to concentrate to relax. But then that concentration goes away and I'm more into that meditation and I guess contemplation because I'm just like observing all the feelings and what's happening without thinking, if that makes any sense, you
Yeah,
know.
that's
Like,
beautiful. Thank you for sharing. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I I really like I like what you said about the like how your spine moves. I get that sometimes during breath work as well. I actually get that during some of my longer holds. If I can really tap in, I'm like I find that movement and then my awareness actually shifts like sometimes outside my body in a way. Um, and I like that you're talking about how you're almost in a dream state too, because I think that's a different brainwave state. Pretty sure you're drifting or you're going towards like theta or maybe even gamma. And gamma is like where levels of empathy increase like tenfold. Um, and
not all
theta is
definitely.
like in between like being asleep and being awake. It's that like in between state where your mind is like still processing your dreams or your subconscious and you're like sort of half in between that. And it's like it, in my opinion, or not my opinion, my experience, my brain moves at like a quicker like processing rate in that state. So it's like able to maybe do contemplation and at a faster speed almost.
Mm. Mhm.
Yeah. You were going to say something though, Michelle?
No, I was just thinking about it because it happened a couple of times that I got into that state and I almost found myself going like, whoa, like
Mm.
it, I just dozed off so hard and I was like, whoa, what's happening? Kind of thing. But it's I have to be like very calm and very relaxed. Like today, I woke up a little bit late, so I wasn't able to get
Mm.
that. And then at first, I'm like, oh my God, I'm not gonna be able to meditate. And I'm like, it's okay. Right away, I'm like, it's okay. I can probably meditate later this evening. It's fine. So, you know, my brain now kind of just when the other voice comes to try to put me down a little bit, but I have this other voice coming right over, like defending, like, no, it's totally fine because I can still meditate awake. You know, like they talk about being by the river. I am awake, but I'm just watching and observing and just being that moment with breath. So I mean, I can still meditate like that. And if I have to go to my client driving, I can meditate then. So yeah, so I just told my brain, it's okay, you can meditate later. But it was kind of bummed. I'm like, oh no. But yeah,
Mm.
it's
Yeah. the awareness of the emotions around meditation, the frustration. It's there. It can be there, um, and then letting it go or holding on to it if you want to.
I would like go the day of like working, and then I'd be like about to like have to go and do something really fucking hard for, so I would sit in my car and be like, I'm just gonna meditate, and then it would just turn into like me full on taking a nap. It's like my way of just like justifying. It's like, oh, I'll just be in like, if say I knew what I knew now, I could have made the excuse like, too much fire eye right now. I just gotta like get into water eye, and then it would just be a way of procrastinating work. But I would do that with meditation. I would just fall asleep. So, I think that's probably gonna come up for me in the future. I'm gonna be like water eye. It's time to go water eye. But it's like, no, I have stuff.
Balance.
So cool.
Yeah, it's like what Michelle said. Like missing a meditation, like shouldn't be that stressed about it in the first place. But then again, you should be doing your meditation. Like you don't want to just like not participate in what you were gonna set out to do, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think what happens sometimes is that we have like a routine, or if you call it like a ritual, and some people cannot cope if the routine doesn't go exactly as they plan, and they become very stressed. So that's something I learned how to just kind of go with the flow. It's like, yeah, today I didn't wake up as early as I usually do, but there's a reason, because my body wanted to rest more. So I'm not going to be able to do the things that I had planned, but it's okay because I chose to sleep a little bit more, so kind of just go with the flow and not be so, you know, stuck with your following the routine, and I used to be like that a lot more when on the fiery eyes. And I've learned when like you said, the balance. I worked for as a trainer for over a decade in the corporation, right? 24-hour fitness and lifetime fitness. And I mean, it's a lot of work. It's a nonstop go, go, go. And let's just say if I was working 30 to 35 hours a week with real clients, now my workload after I really detox in my breathing, I'm like, okay, I'm done. I cannot be here anymore. I have to do my own thing. And I'm working like a third of the time of the hours that I used to work now, like maybe like 10 to 13. And it's really about the balance, like you said, because with those hours, I was never really into like, oh my God, I have to make as much money as I can possibly make and keep grinding. That was luckily never my mentality, just because of how it was brought in Brazil. And we're very simple third world country. We are just happy with what we have every day, and we just take one day at a time. Nobody has tons of money save in their account, or they just wanted to be close to family and have a good day every day. They're not thinking about, oh my God, what's my career going to be, college, money. That's just not where I'm from at all. So in that aspect, I'm pretty chill. But I'm just comparing that because I'm still probably making the same exact money that I was making when I was working 30 hours, working a third of the hour now. Because not only I study and put more into my plate, and I take more time with my clients. And at the end of the day, it's worth the same value, but I giving a lot more attention to them with more. It's not like I have to be on the hour. I got a client back to back to back to back to back. So it's like everything is the same, but the workload is just so much less. So I have so much more time for myself because I chose, I guess, I mean, I didn't choose, but I chose this path, you know, kind of like just happen and flow that way.
Mm-hmm.
And I see myself waking up now and not thinking about what I'm gonna do. I'm like waking up, I'm like, cool. I don't got anything like I gotta do something right away. So my routine or ritual completely changed to like meditating, going outside of my garden, watering my watermelons and sun tanning and just waiting to see what my body feels like doing. Like going to the gym was the thing. I gotta go to the gym. Oh my God, I gotta work out 5 times a week because of this, isn't that? Now I'm like, I feel like lifting today. That's cool. But I'm like, I don't have to lift. What do I have to lift for? I mean, based on what I have to do through my day, I have to have just enough strength and mobility to get through my day and feel good and pain free, but I don't have to be squatting that heavy or, you know, the mentality just kind of,
Yeah.
I'm,
Mhm.
I'm, I'm way more happy with less, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
That's beautiful, Michelle. I
Thank
feel like us Americans can learn so much from you beautiful Brazilians. Like, damn. I think I need to go to Brazil. Like,
you.
please.
You go for just not stressing. They're just like chilling. Their pace is so much slower, and I'm like, wow. Just like, hey, if you can make it happen today, great. If not, there's tomorrow. That's how
Mm,
they really.
I love that. Do you feel like the when you started breath work or got onto like this breath work path, is that when you feel like you sort of started to the water eye started to come through a little bit more? Do you just feel like that is natural because of where you grew up and like the lifestyle that you grew up around?
Yeah, that's a great question. I always, I think I grew up with a little bit of the water eye, like I said, nothing, not that I wasn't ambitious, but not like achieving things was not my mentality. I was always like, okay, kind of go with the flow. I know what I have in me, and if the opportunity comes, I will definitely grab it. But I wasn't chasing anything, and
Mm.
everything that came into my life, I was actually not chasing. It just happened to be. But in US, I was a lot more, you know, stimulated and try to grab all the opportunities that was showing up. But definitely the breath, excuse me, the breath, it was a huge eye opener and really completely slow me down, like a lot, a lot. So I was already having, I had the mentality already before, like just gonna go with the flow, follow intuition, the opportunity will come. I always had a lot of faith. I was very optimistic. Like I never thought anything wasn't gonna go the right way. I'm like, nah, it's just gonna, I know deep inside it's gonna happen. But the breath really helped. Um, it opened my eyes even more to stop all the other things that I was doing, like stimulation, right? I guess all
Mm.
the out eating, drinking, partying,
Mm.
smoking, um, and all that stuff. So I started just kind of, you know, just to move things from my body and create more space. And then the less I did, the less I looked for things, you were just really coming like, wow, that's when my aha moments were like, whoa, what's happening? So I went from being like, oh, you know, I was really passionate with training and, you know, I was a pretty good trainer in, you know, as far as getting my clients results and stuff. And so I went from, I guess I should say, showing off for others and then just kind of just getting into my bubble and not caring if anybody's going to see me or not because I'm just doing this for me and for me only.
Mm.
You know, so the ego really just went like dropped a lot.
Took a back seat. Yeah.
Mm. Yes.
Yeah.
That's
it,
really
uh,
inspiring.
yeah. I had a lot of confidence, so it helped because I was born with, I guess, I could just play any sports, and I was really good with sports and music. So it really boosts my confidence a lot more. So I was just always up for anything and everything. But then again, sometimes that can just kind of boost your ego a little bit too much. Like you just trying to be a little bit more than you are really, taking it too far. So the breath was definitely the breathing, and with the detoxification, because I did both at the same time, it was a really hardcore change, like night and day. Incredible. My perception, my beliefs, just like I never really care for things, and I'm very patient. Thank for my dad. He's really patient, and I'm always. That's the one thing I'm really happy that I have, is that I'm very very patient. So I always believe in just wait, just waiting, and let it be.
Hmm.
So
Mm.
yeah.
I
Mhm.
like how you mentioned ego and how you're comparing it to the eyes, because I think there's a like an inverse relationship between self-confidence and ego. When your ego is high, you have less self-confidence. When your ego is low, you have more self-confidence. So the ego like can be almost how your fire eye like works. Like your ego is not necessarily tied to it, but it's part of it, of how you project yourself into the world, and you how others maybe see you, or how you think others maybe see you. And then if you have like a low ego and not and more uh self embodiment and self expression, just more about, you're more inclined to be more towards the water eye maybe, and more towards that flowy state of acceptance and saying yes to things and being open in general, sort of surrendering.
Mm.
Mhm.
Doesn't he? I'm pretty sure he talks about the 10. Do you guys remember reading about Gene Key 10, the naturalness? He like touched on
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
Yeah.
very, very
And
brief.
that's
Yeah.
it's kind of like that yin path, or like that feminine path of where it's like the the fire or the ego isn't fully running the show when you kind of actually just like surrender a bit and like relax into your beingness, which is very much this yin way, this feminine way. For one, that's when you become your most magnetic. And like as Michelle, you kind of touched on, it's almost like when you settle into that space, you don't even have to try anymore. You don't have to like go out and like prove yourself or like grind for those clients. You actually can just like be, and opportunities start magnetizing themselves to you. um yeah, it's very 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 feminine.
In that same conversation, I feel like the ego is still important to kind of know yourself in a way, because without the ego there's no purpose, and without purpose there's no true way to know yourself maybe, um
Mm,
because that is sort of like part of you, at least how Richard Rudd describes it. Like the your purpose is essential for like one of the pieces of the things that harmonize in terms of your life. uh,
mm,
so it's like this balance between the ego, letting it get big, and then also letting it dissolve, um,
mm,
so you can find your purpose, and so you can find yourself, because that's how you, once you know yourself, then you can actually be yourself,
mm,
and that's when you
mhm,
step into that naturalness and that being, and then that magnetism comes towards you. Because if you
mm,
don't know yourself, then you need to go find it. You need to search for it, and you need the fire. Yeah. Cool.
I think my experiences of like stillness and the water eye haven't been like permanent ones where when the fire eye comes back, it just wants to go back to the water eye so that I can use that like heightened awareness to drive more fire eye. Like I like those energies, I feel like the fire eye is always wanting to use the awareness of like the water eye to go and like prove something and like go and like use the power that the water eye has to actually achieve something, but then it's coming from the fire eye, and then you lose all that was like in the surrender, so you're no longer in it.
Mm.
And like the thing for me is chasing consciousness, like chasing a level of consciousness that I've barely had. Like I in a bit of my life where there was like an awakening, and I experienced what I've been like reading as like a higher calibration of consciousness. I've been reading Power versus Force, really good book. I don't know if anyone
Yeah,
knows
I
that one.
have
It's
that. Have that
really,
right.
yeah, perfect one to go with the gene keys too, and like any type of content. But yeah, I've experienced that, and then my whole life almost for the past 2 years was just like, oh, I want to get back to that so bad because like once I'm there now, I felt that with the greater power associated with that. Now the intentions of like coming from coming from like a lower calibration, I want all these material things. Like I want to have an impact, but like at the same time, it comes to a lot of self-centered things. And that's not what like it was about when I was in that state. It was
Hmm.
just about like every day smiling because I'm alive and like loving people. And every conversation is like super powerful. Doesn't matter if it's with the president or if it's with like the person at the grocery store. Like, but now I just want to get like then I want to get back to that, and I once I get there, then I can use it to you know get tons of other things. But it's not. It's from the wrong. It's not what it is.
Yeah, find a more wholesome intention, or like
Yeah, like
plant the seed
in
and
Power versus Force, I like the. I've been just like always referring to the list of power patterns where I basically take, but it's like yeah, the first bunch. So like it basically gives you a positive pattern, the opposing negative pattern, and they're pretty subtle differences. So like abundant versus excessive. Like abundance powerful, but then there's excessive, which is like I guess you could say the shadow of like accepting versus rejecting, admitting, denying, aesthetic. Some of them are like pretty polar opposite, but some are really close. Like aesthetic versus artsy was an interesting one because artsy's coming. You're just trying to like put on that like artsy like you're just almost overdoing it. And aesthetic is just like you're simply being, I don't know. Every single one, just like you can think about it for a long time.
hmm.
Mhm.
Aware and preoccupied. What does that even mean? You
Your
know?
mind is preoccupied. So your mind is preoccupied with something else. So like when you're having a conversation, your mind is thinking about something else the whole time,
Oh, okay,
as
gotcha.
opposed to just being aware and being in the moment. Yeah.
Mm,
That's a cool list though.
that I think that list is really helpful.
Mm. Yeah, will you take a picture of that list and send it into the group?
Yeah, I was just gonna ask.
Yeah, I was going to. Yeah, I will. Like it'll be a couple of pictures. It's quite a list.
Oh, I think I found it.
And just so
Do you
you
have the
guys
hard?
know, there's gene key 34, very power versus force gene key. The shadow is force. gift might be power. I can't remember.
Mm,
I know the city is majesty. It's a very cool key. So
mm,
yeah.
just too often. It's a powerful word, majesty.
Is it called something? Is it called a calibrated list? No, it's called
Uh,
something.
uh, oh, that's a different list. That's like the calibrations of levels of consciousness.
Oh, whoa. Okay, cool.
But it's chapter. I can screenshot and send it.
Cool. Yeah, definitely. Um,
Wait, and something else that I just want to add is I don't think that there's like one eye is better than the other. I think both eyes are necessary. I think it's more of what what are you, how should I put this? It's like when we tap into maybe the water eye, it's kind of like there's like this deep listening. So it's like, what are we being driven by? Are we being driven by this need to prove ourselves or to be a certain something, or are we being driven by this higher knowing? Because it's like we could still live by the water eye and be very successful and be, like do amazing
Yeah.
things. I feel like that's kind of what the vibe I get from Richard Rudd when he talks about it. It's like, it's not to say that like maybe some of us who are living more in the water eye, maybe we will live really quiet lives, but like some of us are still going to be like, it's not all going to be that. We're not just all going to be like little monks or whatever, you know? Even though like I'm totally about that life. But yeah, I don't think it's like, oh, I'm living in the fire eye, that's bad. Like, or I'm living in the water eye, that's good. I think it's just about really having the awareness to tap in and like what's driving me, like what's truly driving me, and how am I showing up? And yeah.
Yeah, it's not like about what you're doing, it's just how you're doing it.
Yeah.
I
part
I
of
mean
it.
I agree. I in my experience, it's always been like bring between one or the other because I believe the water eye is actually the path to like the highest level of success because it's more of a spiritual like internal success all around that you can then like bring into the world any which way. Like if you think like the way I think about water is like doesn't matter the container, like it's always in, it kind of adapts to every environment. It's like still in essence the same purity in in like all of these environments. Whereas fire, like it can burn really hot for a bit and then it can just die out and be left with like nothing. Um, and it's just like burn everything up as well. Like in a what I would like call the state that I've been in, the water eye, it's not so much ups and downs because I'm going with the ups and downs.
Hmm.
Whereas in a fire eye, I'm just up, I'm really up, and down, I'm like really down.
Mm.
And it doesn't like flow with the environment. It like tries to control the environment, and then water doesn't try the environment. It just ends up in always the perfect environment.
It's very adaptable.
It's so wild. The more we talk about the fire and the water, I feel like it applies to every single key in a way. I feel like the fire and the water can be the city of every single key and how we apply it to ourselves and to society, as well as the shadow. Like it's just in everything. It's so, it's the duality of every, within the duality. So like there's the duality of the shadow and the city, and then there's a duality within the duality of each one within the water and fire.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Could be like an interesting experiment to like apply the water and the fire eyes as we're reading our keys and just sort of like maybe
Mm.
touch on that in some of these calls, like
Yeah.
how we feel those relate.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna write
How
that.
would you be an example of that? Like testing it and applying it to each key.
Yeah, here, hold on. I have the keys open. So let's see. Um,
Do you know what your life's work key is, Jordan?
Yeah. Um, I haven't looked at it yet. It's a spoiler. 14.
The 14. Okay. That's a cool one. You're Sagittarius or are you Scorpio?
How'd you know that? I'm
Are you Sag?
Scorpio, I think.
You're
I think I'm
Scorpio?
Scorpio.
Okay, because yeah. I couldn't remember if the 14 was related to Sag or Scorpio.
Oh,
But that's
true.
because
Okay.
they're all linked to like an astrological sign. Because
Yeah,
this is
fair.
built upon astrology.
it's all about the numbers. Like,
Three Scorpios, guys. 3 Scorpios. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah. Peter, what are you? What's your life's work?
he might type it in the chat.
He.
He might be
Wait, so
sleeping.
the same one, Michelle? Do we have 14?
No, I'm 44.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I'd have to look that up right now.
I'm just a Scorpio, my sign, I said. Yeah.
So what is the gift of the
compromise.
what's the gift of
Oh, sorry,
14?
competence and then bountiness. Bounteousness.
Yeah, what the hell?
Yeah,
Or-
so I guess
Bounty.
like thinking about competence like in a way of like seeing competence through the lens of the fire eye, like what does competent mean from that lens, and then viewing competence from the lens of the water eye.
Yeah.
What does that mean to you? But Peter, what's your life's work?
I think if I remember right now, is exactingness was one of them, or it was that. So I've definitely been reflecting on that.
What was it? What's the gift?
Is it? I don't know. I want to say out of memory because I just looked at it once and then I got to reading. One of them was exactingness, or that might have been a trait of that. Don't know.
Hold on.
I would definitely. I'm super curious now.
You don't remember the number?
No, I don't. I just looked. I was like, okay, cool. I'm gonna read the book now. I'll know this week. I'll get back to you on that. Yeah, I'll definitely have more questions coming up in the comments but I put in the chat to probably expand on what I was agreeing with what Jordan was saying.
Mm.
Being told
Okay.
once by a person that had very high vibes. Her name was Kathy, and she had this really cool medallion. We were talking about medallion, and during her speech, she talked about the solar plexus. It was around chakras and stuff and whatnot. But the yellow is the undulating. You just a little bit above that and a little bit below that. I think she was saying that people want to be this thing and like stay there. It's like, well, that's to me that's fire eye. What we're talking about. It's like I have to stay here. I want to be. Well, it's out. She said it's always undulating in yellow because it's your self-worth color in your solar plexus, just below your heart, because that's where you stay. And so when I talk about watery eye, it's like, and then balancing the fiery eye, and it's a skill, I guess, what we're learning, right? And the sensations of it is the skill, and still moving forward. Like I got this project to do. How do I stay watery eye if I got this project to do and I got this going and yeah, kind of thing. So yeah, yellow is it's always just going to go a little bit above yellow and then a little bit below yellow. And it's always going to be flowing there. And that's that's a sweet spot. So I never forgot that.
It's funny that you mentioned that because yellow is the solar plexus, but it's also the diaphragm. And the diaphragm is the breath and how we breath. And then that's, you mentioned it's connected to self-worth, and that's the ego. So the breath is directly connected to self-worth and the ego and the fire and the water. It's all interwoven.
Yeah, and literally the whole human design system which Gene Keys is based off of, is this whole idea that in 2027 we're having an expansion of the solar plexus, and that we're actually going to be, that's going to be our authority, essentially, like our sense of self-worth. So it's kind of interesting that you brought that up.
Oh, I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah,
2020.
2027, I'll send an article actually into the group. We're moving into what's called the cross of the sleeping phoenix, and it's all about self-empowerment. And so our focus is actually moving back inward to like sovereignty and like personal empowerment. And it's all related to that solar plexus, because the solar plexus is that center of self-worth, self-knowing, self-empowerment. Richard Rudd talks about all the time how if you want to like evolve, to go to your belly, and like your solar plexus, and to meditate there, because that's where we hold. And like I totally resonate of like, I hold all of my tension right here in my belly. Like that's where I feel like all of my trauma has mostly been stored. And so, yeah, we're in 2027, we're going to start seeing the expansion of that center, and people are either going to move deeper into self-empowerment and self-worth, or it's going to go the opposite way, and people are going to become even more of a victim of the external influences, according to this system.
Wow. Yeah. My life's work 62.4, impeccability, precision, intellect.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
The 62s are really cool key. They're all really cool though, because I literally say that about every key. I'm like, that key is so cool.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Yeah.
So
You
does
gotta get a t-shirt. You got a t-shirt on that.
Yeah. The 62 though, it's a really awesome key. It's a part of the codon ring of no return, which means like once you start speaking your truth, it's basically the codon ring of like when these higher involutionary currents start using your voice to speak truth. It's like you can never go back. So it's like a key of about light language, basically. It's like when source starts using your voice to transmit higher truths. It's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks. Yeah.
Yeah, the codon rings, they're super dope too. There's so many rabbit holes you can go down with Gene Keys.
That's what it's about. It's better than sitting there trying to figure it out on your own, like what things feel like. And I mean, that's nice to go with those if you don't know, but this is again, the wording is just like they say I think it's in the Pearl section of the book, page 20 something, 30 something. The words are what transform you, because you start thinking differently, because words are spells, as we all know. But just they're so even. I don't get too high or too low, but they strike a chord with me every time I underlining or highlighting some word or whatnot. I'm even making abbreviations for these little like 3-word things. They're written all over the book. It's a mess, but it's great. That's how I learn. Remember that in school? They'd be like, "You're gonna have to buy that book if you write in it." Like, okay, how much is it? Like $4? I could mow some lawns this summer. So what? I was just so scared. Like, oh, I don't want to pay for it. No one wrote in their books in elementary school and junior high, and I get into college. I'm like highlighter central, and I best grades I've ever gotten. Duh.
Yeah, I'm all for writing in the books. I actually love buying used books that people have written in too. I'm like, I love writing in books.
Nick, you don't have much luck finding a used Gene Keys path, but who am I to say?
Mm.
Maybe in about a decade, who knows?
I actually,
Mm.
my Gene Keys book,
Yeah.
like the actual, the 64 Gene Keys, I bought it used, and the person underlined and like circled things and had some notes in there. And it's like interesting because I'm like, oh, what was this person's thoughts on this key?
I could barely even get this book. Like I couldn't get the Kindle version for whatever reason in Canada, and then um I had to order this one from the States.
Hmm.
Are you in Canada?
Indeed.
Oh, where?
I'm like just outside of Toronto at
Oh,
this point.
dope. Okay,
Mm.
cool. I'm in Buffalo. I'm like right by the border.
Oh, true.
Hmm.
Nice. Yeah, I've been down the woods.
Hmm. Yeah, Buffalo sucks. Toronto's cool though. I like to visit Toronto.
It's funny because like I'm always not complaining, but I'm always like stating blankly that I'm just like another town, like the same as every other town, this and that. Like, where I live, there's not really much to do, but like I could drive 2 hours north and it's just like straight up like lakes, beautiful areas to like go to the beach and like camp and do canoe trips. Just like it's funny because like if you're just not doing it, you're living in anyway, the world's your oyster. There's always something to do if you look for it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, at least where I am. Then again, and then I just work all summer. It's like I could have passed the time actually doing stuff.
Well, all right, guys. I think we're nearing towards 2 hours, um, including the breath work. So I'm gonna wrap it up for today. Thank you guys all for coming and participating and reflecting. Really appreciate everybody coming in here to do this. I thought of a little bit of a closing ceremony, and I shared a quote from Ra that's on like the 5D consciousness map that I think is just really powerful, and it, in a way, can it kind of connects to a lot of what we're talking about, but just also about consciousness in general. And I'd like to kind of just, oh, hold on one second. I'd like to just kind of read it as sort of a closing ceremony, but also just would like to hear everybody else's final thoughts if they have anything else to add. Um, yeah, so I'm just gonna read this out loud now. Is Michelle joining? Okay, yeah. Michelle, I'm just closing it out for today. We're reaching about 2 hours, so I'm just gonna um, doing a sort of a closing ceremony. I'm gonna do just say a quote that I shared in the chat the other day, and maybe I'll pick a new one for every time we do this. So the quote is, "Increase your service to others and be more loving to yourself and everyone in order to raise your vibrational consciousness level. Forgive yourself and others, thus releasing karma. This will change the vibration of the planet, raise the shared consciousness of humanity and humankind one person at a time. Treat your body as a temple and change over time into a higher vibrational diet to aid in the process." It's good stuff.
Amen.
Yeah, yeah. All right, guys. Yeah, thanks again.
Amen.
Really appreciate you all coming. Thank you so much for sharing. And I'm looking forward to the next one already.
Yeah, me too.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Eric.
You guys have a
Thank
great
you,
night.
guys. You too.
Much love to you all.
Carry on.
Much
Bye.
love. Much love. Bye.